Blitz is defined as a sudden, savage attack. It is indeed all this. The effect is sure. The premise is simple. It's a basic, primal confrontation, man to man. No excuses are offered. None accepted.
Welcome to the latest edition of Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com.
Looks like a radio station.
Now, here are your hosts, lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers,
Pure athlete yet.
I transcend race, hombre.
Matt Butler,
I don't talk, man. I back it up.
And we are chock full of that, man.
Damn right.
and Jeff Howe.
It's still real to me, damn it.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
If you're gonna blitz, come strong, but don't come at all.
We're going to come a lot stronger than the Big 12 did over the weekend. Goodness gracious, it was not a good weekend for the league. Oklahoma loses. Good luck figuring out whatever Oklahoma State is at this point, because they go on the road and beat Iowa State.
I have no idea.
Yeah, not good for the top end.
And
Good for the
then
bottom.
Did y'all see that bat-esque crazy ending to the Tech-Kansas game?
Oh,
Since
my
the one
God.
with the fumble after
The
PAT
block field
block,
goal
the
lateral?
Yeah, I did see that. That was freaky.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't even a full, like, Leon Lettish. He was
Was
actually
he trying to
returning
lateral it, or
and
was he
then-
just?
No, it
he
looked
just
like he was trying to
forced
lateral.
fumbled it?
No, he was
Just
trying
tried
to lateral.
it and gave it back.
Yeah, that was.
I'll tell you this,
That
Rod. I hope he was
one-upped
trying to
Leon
lateral the
Lett,
ball.
actually. In
Yeah,
that.
that's. Yeah, I don't know. That's just bad. Yeah, that's bad. And then Baylor, the best team in the Big 12, was off.
Yeah,
Right?
the only reason Baylor didn't have a bad weekend is because they didn't play.
They survived.
You know what I mean? No, the Big 12 is weird, man. It's strange. And yeah, we'll get into the strangest part of it.
And we got to break it down.
Yeah.
Tom Herrmann doesn't have very many double-digit losses in his career. Rod, 2 of them are at the hands of Gary Patterson.
Oh, that's good.
So
I like
maybe now we're dealing with a whole new, different purple kryptonite around this
that.
program.
It's true. Yeah.
And then
For
there's
Mac
new.
Brown, it was Bill Snyder,
It's
and
K-State.
for somehow Ron Prince. For
Well,
Tom Herman, it might just be Gary Patterson.
No, not just for Tom Herman though. Gary Patterson's been whipping a lot of Texas coaches around these parts. Well, he's 6-2 since he got to the Big 12.
I told myself I
he
wasn't going
just-
to think about
Tom
those
Herman ain't
Charlie
the only
Strong
one.
losses. So can we just not go there? I
I'm
told
just
myself
saying,
I
like,
wasn't
hey,
going to
man,
think
he ain't
about
the only one.
that
Everybody
purple-
got some of that. Everybody got some from Gary Patterson.
Get that perp.
Like, did
You can all
Charlie
get some of this.
Did Charlie Strong ever have a sequence in a game against Gary Patterson where his teams where you felt like, okay, they got a chance? Like, those games were never close.
No,
No,
that
they
one,
weren't.
like 50-7, was about as brutal as any OU loss or any
Again,
loss
Matt,
I've ever had.
why you gotta bring that up?
It's just
true.
horrid.
Why you gotta bring that up?
Well, we can go
I'm
back.
trying
You
to
brought up
block stuff out of my memory, and
Well-
you're just gonna go bring it up.
Well, you're on the purple, and before we started recording, you were talking about how you had your binoculars out. Did you see Coach Bill Snyder watching the game via his binoculars from above against Oklahoma? It was really good.
Oh, I didn't see
yeah,
that.
yeah, just Snyder, pure old man up in the boots, but he had
That's
to get the
awesome.
No,
binoculars
because-
up so he could see the game
Yeah.
up close. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Here's
awesome.
how floored I
It's
was
badass.
with the K-State Oklahoma outcome. People were like, man, it's 34-23. I'm like, okay, let me know when K-State gets like a little bit closer. Like, no, Kansas State's winning. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think I was calling a high school game. Yeah, I was Travis Crockett at the time, and I couldn't believe it. Like when they told me, it's like, no, Oklahoma just lost to K-State. I was like, K-State. I was like, damn it, that means we might lose to K-State. First thing I thought of, I was like, damn it, that means we're probably gonna lose to K-State. Oh, there was a
Yep.
good chance we could lose to K-State.
Well, forget
Yeah.
K-State, Rod, because you had to
Based
worry
on-
about
yeah.
TCU first. And 37-27, Texas loses the game. We'll break it all down here on this edition of Longhorn Blitz. And we don't even have anything to look forward to because there's a bye week this week. So
No,
we
we
just
need our
gotta-
weeks. They need him, and we all need it.
I just like the way he phrased it. We have nothing to look forward to. Because like that was like he's talking about the bye week. Okay, no, not this.
yeah, in my instant reactions piece from the game, I have a little portion in there where it says reason to be optimistic. I said there's no reason to be optimistic after this. You have nothing to be optimistic about.
Yes, there is.
There's a few little things.
There's a couple of things. Yes, I'll make this. There are a few
the
things.
worrisome
You're gonna
thing
have
is
But
the
most
things
of
that
it is
you
doom and
sucked
gloom,
at, you
yes.
sort of maybe improved a little at in certain areas, but then the areas that you sort of were relying upon
Yeah.
weren't there. So you sort of wondered, well, is the latter to the former or the former to the latter? Are you going to get maybe some improvements in the areas needed? Because I trust some of the areas that made the mistakes. But if now we're continuing to have mistakes in the other areas that you thought were strengths, then where the hell's this team going to be?
All right, I am Jeff Howe. Let me formally bring in the rest of the team. He is the master of the soundboard, the drum machine extraordinaire, Matt Butler.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm making it.
There you go.
And
That's how every Longhorn fan feels. Like,
Yeah.
I'm making it.
Pretty much. And lifetime Longhorn, 2002 UT All-America, 2002 semifinalist. For the Jim Thorpe Award, 4th-round draft choice of the New York Giants in 2003. Spent his NFL career with the Giants, Lions, Bears, Bucs, Broncos, and a year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL. When he was done with football, got himself back to Austin, Texas in the 40 acres where he earned his degree. Whenever that T-ring comes back in, I will make sure he wears it proudly. Nevertheless, he is a card-carrying member of DBU. And when you get that All-American honor recognized by the NCAA, you get that black card. Number 21 in your program, number 1 in your hearts. Mr. Rod Babers.
Thanks for the intro, brother. I know you're speeding through it because you want to get right to it.
Nah, it's just kind of one of those deals that just comes naturally to me now.
That's true.
Though I
Still,
would
WWE
say I
promo
kind of
man.
butcher it, but yeah. Rod, I guess let's start with the defense because that's what we were talking about before we actually started rolling on this show.
Yeah, I think we should start there.
And I think it ties into the big picture because if you're a Texas fan, like it's one thing to be upset about the loss and the trajectory of the program, which 5-3 through 8 games, it's not where anybody expected this program to be. And a 2-point win over Kansas, it just doesn't, it's hard to see upward movement from Texas right now. But to me, I think if you really want to be concerned about something, let's start with the defense because in the 3 losses and in the Kansas game, and even against West Virginia, if you want to take it to that point, regardless of what the performance was up to that point in the game, which in some games it was bad, some cases it was poor, some cases there were things you could feel you felt you could hang your hat on. In each of those games I just mentioned, the defense had a chance to, in the fourth quarter, either close out a game like West Virginia or Kansas, or in a one-possession game to get the ball back for the offense like LSU or like Oklahoma or like on Saturday against TCU. It was simple. Hey, just get a stop. And on that last scoring drive TCU had, you had 2 chances to get off the field. Once on 3rd and 11, once on 3rd and 14. And Rod, that's a defense you just got pantsed in both of those situations. And it's the same stuff that keeps happening over and over again. I almost think, and this is why I say stuff like this that might just drive people nuts, but this is why I say it. Forget about like total yards allowed. Like, don't necessarily look at that as success or failure. Even like Oklahoma's defense, why did we not have a problem with Oklahoma's defense? Like, why were they able to overcome it? Because at least at times late in games, Oklahoma's defense was able to get a stop or 2. Or like you think about like those Art Browse Baylor teams, at least they at some point they'd be able to force a turnover. Hell, we talked about Oklahoma State won the Big 12 one year with an awful defense in terms of yards per play allowed, yards per game allowed. They were just turning over everybody. Yeah. They were like plus 40 something or whatever it was in turnover margin. But this defense, when they've had prime opportunities to kind of get it back, kind of build some goodwill back, get the ball back for the offense, give yourself a chance to win a game, they've failed pretty much every time they've tried to do that this year.
Yeah, but it's for different reasons, and I think that's the concern, right? Sometimes, early on we were pointing out the missed tackles. Going into this game, they were averaging 17 missed tackles a game against Power 5 opponents. In this game, they only missed 9 missed tackles that I counted. And that was
the tackling was better.
Yeah, the tackling seemed to be much better. Guys seemed to be in the right position, taking better angles to the football. Now something else that was exposed was the kind of the I would say is Todd Orlando and some of his tendencies and preferences defensively that I think offensive coordinators have figured out. Instead of, there are 2 things that they're doing against the Texas defense. Instead of trying to break down and somehow find a way to solve the Todd Orlando defensive strategy schematically, they're just saying, you know what? It's like a poker game, right? Instead of playing the hand, play the man. And instead of, playing right, instead of playing playing the hand, play the players or whatever it is. I'm sure I got the saying wrong, but whatever, you get it. And they're doing that with Todd Orlando now because they know Todd Orlando at certain points in the game, pivotal points in the game that you just pointed out, to get specifically back to what you were saying, the 3rd and 11, the 3rd and 14. Now he has a tendency, and I don't know why it is, to go zero coverage and oftentimes try to come with some either exotic blitz or even at times an all-out blitz. And you saw Gary Patterson and TCU take full advantage of it. Even that Max Duggan throw on that 3rd and 14, I mean, you can tell he was just told by the coach, just throw it up there. You can just get it up there. Our guy has a chance at it. It wasn't a terribly accurate throw. And I think against Texas, that's one of the things that teams are exploiting in those. And you're talking about 3rd and double digits. Usually 3rd and double digits, that's when defenses have a they have a huge advantage, all right, in terms of the odds and probabilities.
Mhm.
And we're seeing over and over again, Todd Orlando's defense seem to crumble in those moments where the odds actually shift tremendously in their favor for success, and yet ultimately they fail. Because I think the zero coverage, number one, you drop your chances of being a successful defense on that play.
You've deduced it to be in that matchup. Your
Yeah,
guy has,
exactly. Like
now, if you're confident that those guys on the outside can do it, which maybe he had been at one point, but then if you become reliant on that earlier
when you got
in the year,
backups back in there,
Exactly.
that's not really conducive to success.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like you were saying with the cards analogy, it's exactly the same. Like if you get your hand that's dealt, there's a certain amount of odds that you're going to be able to have
Exactly
for
right.
the situation.
Yeah.
But
He's a
it
bad
doesn't
poker
matter.
player.
Exactly.
He is.
It doesn't matter what the other person's cards, if mentally they think they're inferior or that you are at an advantage. And that's when you're playing the other person. And that's where it isn't necessarily about the players. It's about the play callers in addition to being tied to the players.
And his tails. And you can.
And that's when a guy can be like, well, but Orlando's going to be doing this because he's been doing this over and over, probably 70% of the time or whatever the numbers are. So he's like, make sure that we coach up our guys to understand that in these situations, look for this. If you identify that pre-snap, we can get it. If not, then we can worry about winning in the chaos or whatever. But sometimes it's a good way. That's where good coaching can actually prepare you for those situations.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the Todd Orlando defense versus LSU and even versus Kansas when the quarterbacks are getting the ball out of their hands really quickly. That's because not only have they studied that Orlando defense and they've been told by their coaches, hey, once you see this, it will be confirmed. Don't doubt it. Once you see it in their Orlando defense, you see that safety move or you see that late delayed blitz come from the secondary, go. Don't wait, go. And then I think quarterbacks get more and more confident with that. And I think that's on Todd Orlando's got to go. There's a man in the mirror moment that's got to happen for him. Right now as a play caller, he's almost like a punch drunk boxer out there at the end. Like he's about to wobble. That's why in the fourth quarter they figured him out by then. And instead of throwing body blows at Todd Orlando's defense by running it, you see these stretches in the games. And I can point out one in the TCU game where they just decide to throw on it. They just say, you know what, let's throw on this defense. Let's throw it. Let's put pressure on them. Let's put pressure on Todd Orlando. And ultimately, either the defensive matchup will fail or Todd Orlando will have a bad sequence or call.
Risk may come and benefit us. And if you're being able to do that offensively, and especially in a more pass-happy football world than we've ever been before, where it's more proven, even if you're a conservative coach, you have the numbers proving that if you need to be explosive, you do it via the pass. So it's worth going and taking the risk.
Here's from the last drive of the half. Remember when they go in that, I think it's like a minute something left, and they get that field goal. All right. From that point, when it was 17-10 to the point where it was 30-27, TCU threw the ball on first down 63% of the time. They figured out, all right. You know what? Let's just throw it. Let's just throw it. We can run it, if we have to, obviously, but let's just throw it and put pressure on them. And when they did, what they threw it? They threw it deep. They started chunking it deep because they knew, just based on the film, Texas DBs don't play the football well. That increases our odds for success. The deep ball is basically a 3-point shot or a home run. You got, yes, your odds of success drop. It's a lower percentage shot. It's
higher returns.
But it's higher returns, bigger returns. And now that's why your teams are just throwing it deep on Texas.
1 out of 3. Who cares if your completions percentage is 33%
and
if you get an 80-yard touchdown?
TCU was 4 of 8 on passes 20 yards or more down the field.
Yep.
All right.
And you just brought it up, dude. And when you start talking right there, it reminded me of a quote that Augie Garrido, and Texas fans will enjoy this because you're talking about putting the pressure on the opponent and knowing that the DBs are deficient.
And they're young.
There are times like you saw this in the Astros game recently when Altuve went home when he maybe shouldn't. But the idea, the concept that you can, in baseball, you can put the pressure by running and by going home, by then flipping the field. And now a guy not expecting to have to make a throw has to make a pressure-packed throw. That's the same thing they're doing against the Texas defense right now. And knowing that these guys are maybe a little frazzled or rattled. So we're going to go and flip the pressure and keep putting it on them and see if they can constantly perform. And it's the same reason why you send a run area or something like that.
Why waste body blows on Texas when you can just hit them with an uppercut and knock them out?
It.
You know what I mean? It's not worth it to run against Todd Orlando anymore. And it messes up Todd Orlando because he can no longer predict what you're going to do. It makes
And
you more
old defensive guys
unpredictable.
don't like this.
Yeah, so his modus operandi, which is stop the run, number one, make him one-dimensional. Number two, rush the passer and blitz the hell out of the quarterback and confuse the quarterback, master of the art of confusion. And then number three, force turnovers. Doesn't work anymore. It doesn't apply. When guys like Brent Dearman go, I'm just going to throw it, man.
Yeah.
I'm
You know
going
what I
to
mean?
make
When
myself
LSU goes,
one-dimensional.
What do I got to lose? I was at Bethel.
Yeah, when LSU with Joe Burrow goes, I'm going to throw it 68% of the time on first down. When Austin Kendall says, you know what, they throw it 65% on first down. West Virginia did. And hell, even TCU didn't want to throw it, but soon Sonny Cumbie figured out, no, it's not worth it. We're wasting downs against Orlando's defense. Let's just throw it, put pressure on them. The DBs will ultimately make a mistake, or he will make a mistake because we're less predictable then.
And we're being the
if you're predictable,
aggressors.
that's why Mike Gundy screwed up. Remember he came in and we said Mike Gundy screwed up. He came into the game.
Yep.
He came into the game, I think, running the football on first down, I think 67% of the time. This dude ran it 73%.
He was more
of the time
predictable than
He was
Herrmann.
more predictable. It's like, dude, against Todd Orlando, just go unpredictable. Just throw it, and throw. Throw it early, often, and throw it deep. That's how you beat Todd Orlando's defense. That's the three rules. Throw it early, often, and deep.
And the simplification of these offenses that we talk about with the numbers games at times can make you predictable. And that's what we sort of talked about is what maybe landed Gundy to doing those things. And it's sort of when after seeing the predictability of even the Texas offense or in situations, the play calling on the defense, it sort of reminds me, and we talk about the adjustment period. Like not only do you have an in-game adjustment at halftime, but after your first year or two in a conference with another one, like you can't just have what worked. And like we sort of saw it with the Rams at the beginning of this year, a little bit of stroke. And it's the same thing.
He's switching it up too.
Exactly. And you still can change it. It's just that there is that area that you're going to have to be ever evolving so you can continue to be on that cutting edge. Otherwise, you're going to really fall back with the pack or become predictable. And what differed you before, you aren't born into that because you aren't in that infancy of those first 2 years.
Totally agree.
Right. I know there's a lot I want to get to defensively and a lot we need to get to offensively. But when I look at this defense, and I think, like I said, the one thing that I see over and over and over, it's different ways, but it's still the inability to get a stop when you really need
agreed.
it.
Yeah.
That to me might be, we can talk about the three-man front or whatever. That to me is like the biggest concern is that it's a number of different ways that it's happening. But
that's on Orlando.
But you're still giving up. They're exactly like
ultimately that's on Orlando.
Like you said, either the matchup's going to fail or Orlando's going to fail, and we saw kind of both on that last TCU scoring
we saw
drive.
A little bit of both. I agree.
Like to me, and I told you guys this before,
and all throughout the game,
watching it from the press box, I looked at TCU like their alignment. I looked at the matchups on that first third down, and I see Stevens one-on-one in the slot with Montreal Estelle. I'm like, that's probably where they're going with the ball right there.
Well, on the third and what?
The third and 11.
The third and 11. Okay,
sure enough,
on the last drive.
on a little corner route.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, there's that. And then
don't play the hand, play the man.
And then the last one,
go with matchups against Texas. That's it. Just go with matchups.
It was a blitz call, and you ended up getting Tyler Owens one-on-one with Tay Barber. If I'm TCU, if I'm Sonny Cumbie, that's exactly what I want.
Exactly, matchups.
Because it's not that Tyler Owens was in position, but it's the insistence of Todd Orlando, Rod, to continue to ask guys to do things that they're probably not capable of doing or capable of handling.
Yeah. No.
If that's BJ Foster or Caden Stearns, that's one thing. Because those guys have been in games before. Mm-hmm. They've done those things.
Yeah. But you got
or it's Brandon Jones, that's one thing. Brandon Jones played a lot of football.
Yeah.
I can't be that mad at Tyler Owens and Montreal Estelle when they're giving up those plays.
There were 4 third and double digits that the Texas defense faced. The 2 that you're talking about on that last drive, I counted 4 of them. That was the 3rd and 11. He rushes 5, but he ends up rushing Adeyewale and Mitchell, and then he drops Osai. So I'm not mad about him rushing 5. That's fine. But rush your best pass rusher in that situation in 3rd and 11.
That's when you can be playing poker with yourself, too, if you think you're being
he did. He had him over the front, and then he dropped him back. Then there's the 3rd and 14. That's when he has the zero coverage. And I still, to this day, don't really know exactly what. I would like somebody to ask him what Adeyewale and Mitchell were doing if they were dropping back, trying to simulate pressure, or occupy, or if they were rushing.
I'll let you know next Wednesday when we talk.
Yeah, because he brings 6 initially, then 2 of the guys kind of drop back because they're not going to make it. I have no idea why. Anyway, I guess they were just occupying and isolating blockers, but like I said, that's a different football discussion. Then there's the earlier on in the game, the 3rd and 17, where he plays cover 2, They rush 4, drop 7. Montrell Estelle gives up the skinny post in the slot, and there's a 3rd and 13 in the third quarter. He rushed 3 and dropped 8. They forced an incompletion. It was the most conservative that we got out of Todd Orlando. Yeah, and he dropped 8, he rushed 3, and they forced an incompletion. I was like,
keep them between the 20s.
And I was praying when we got to 3rd, 14. I was like,
and what's funny is that's the type of coverage
and I was like,
that'll drive a fan crazy, but it actually eliminates that top end in explosive plays against you, which is exactly what Texas sort of is most vulnerable at right now.
Put a spy on Duggan and just drop everybody back would have been great. I know his sign. I saw him on the sideline. He does this,
like the huevos from
like he's juggling some big scones or something. And that's why I was like, no, that's got to be the all-out blitz. No.
To quote Pedro Serrano,
I was like, that looks like that is a very aggressive call. Don't do it. And he did it. So I'm with you.
Marvels?
I think if everything in Todd Orlando's nature is naturally aggressive, be aggressive. And I think this is a year where ultimately I think it will be best on everybody if he just erred on the side of conservatism and said, you
don't have the personnel you used to.
I get 3rd and anything up, 3rd and 8 plus, man, I am dropping everybody back, you know what I mean, to tackle everything in front of him. And I think it's so hard for him, you know what I mean? It's just really hard for him because and even he came out with the 4-man front in this game. We can't say Todd Orlando's not trying to evolve, guys, because he is. He came out in the 4-man front at times.
And that's where
he dropped 8. He played the cover 2. And he's trying. It ain't working, but he's trying.
Did y'all listen to Herrmann when he did the rewind, watching the tape back on Longhorn Network last night? Because it was the first time that I've ever really noticed him make a point to point out, though, that we need to have our coaches make sure they're putting these guys in situations that they need or that they're capable of fulfilling. So
exactly.
And he said it, I believe, 3 times. I counted, and I haven't heard Herrmann really sort of admit those type of details on a nonchalant show like that. But there was no press conference this week, so like hearing it from him was exactly sort of what, if you were a fan and wondering what he was going to say, it's like, well, at least that aligns with ways that you might be able to fix this.
He admitted, I think Brian Davis might ask the question, that he did not like the defensive schemes.
Yeah.
Remember that he asked him about Todd Orlando. He's like, no, me and Todd Orlando are good. I love Todd Orlando. And it's like, do you like the schemes? And I believe he said, no, I don't like the schemes.
Yeah. Doesn't like where the defense is at right now.
Yeah, so I think he wants to be a little bit more conservative, getting back to your time about your point about putting guys in a position that they actually don't give them undue expectations. Yeah, like he can't do that. Tyler Owens ain't there yet, so don't put him in that situation. Right. Don't put Montrell Estelle in that situation like he's Brandon Jones. He ain't Brandon Jones. You know what I mean? So give those guys more. But I will say this: the DBs are horrible at playing the ball, and this comes from a guy myself who was horrible at playing the ball. Yeah. But at least I got my hands on the ball.
You just didn't catch it.
I didn't catch it. Exactly.
There's a big difference between playing the ball.
You know why I didn't catch it, Matt? Because I knew I was going to screw up and give up a touchdown trying to catch the ball because I wasn't Nathan Basher. I can't play the ball in the air like Nate. So most of the time, I end up playing the receiver most of the times. Hips, hands, and eyes. That's what I played. All right, hips, hands, eyes. I knew I could get on the inside hip all the time. I played man coverage. If I ever got beat at the line of scrimmage, that's easy. If I couldn't stay in front of the receiver, didn't get the jam, redirect them, then boom, find the inside hip. Find the inside hip. He can't go anywhere without the hips. If they drop, that means he's running the stop route. If he's running, find the inside hip and then look and lean if you're lucky enough to find him. But before that, if his eyes get big, if you're close enough to see him, that means the ball's coming. He can't do anything without his hands. So last resort, just play the damn hands. Don't play anything else. Watch his hands. Watch his hips and his hands. His hands got to go up to get the ball. Then you can, you know what I mean? I don't understand what they're being taught. What's the panic plan? I still remember it all. Your mind, in my memory.
Your mind also works fast.
It can process. I don't understand what are they doing when the ball's in the air? Like, how do they not know how to play it? How do you not know to play the hands if you're behind? If you're Montrell Estelle and you're in that cover 2, how do you not understand the route concepts that if you're in cover 2 and there's no number 2 threat for my cornerback out here in the flat, then he is going to carry the number 1. So I don't even need to lean that way. I got a number 2 guy. So honestly, I can almost jump that right. It almost becomes a little bit man to me. You know what I mean? And I can be late on the outside because that throw is going to have to be in the back of the end zone. the corner of the end zone, and I got time. What I don't have time for is the skinny post. I ain't got time to break on that. How do you not understand it? How do you not understand that Max Duggan is not going to throw intermediate routes? He's not. He's not going to throw the comeback. He ain't an NFL quarterback yet. He ain't throwing that. What is he throwing? Short routes and deep routes. That's what young quarterbacks do. That's what a young Sam Ellinger does. So how do you know in the route tree when a guy's running, he's already eliminating routes. When he passes 7 yards, he ain't running nothing but a deep thing. He's running deep. He ain't running the deep 6 cut. How do you not understand this? That's what I'm saying. Young DBs, you got to study the game. They not studying the game. And so I'm getting on the young DBs, and I'm getting on the assistant DB coaches and everybody else. These young boys ain't studying the game. I can tell. The youngsters don't. You can tell they're not. That thought process is not happening. In cover 2, and what's the route scheme? What's the route concept? What's my responsibility? And what can I do? And within the rules of this defense, they don't understand that.
Yeah.
They don't know how to play the ball. So as a young DB, when I was doing that, I remember learning those things like, oh, Coach Kenneth, when you get big a line of scrimmage, what are you gonna do, baby? Find the inside hip. Find the inside hip. Find the inside hip. Why? Because right there, if you're on that inside hip, he can't go anywhere.
I know you're a guy. You're a guy.
I love it.
Upsetting.
You're a guy that's talked about how your competitive edge, especially when you were at Texas, was just studying film and trying to be smarter than everybody
I had
else.
to.
And Ahmad Brooks, I know Brooks has said the
Brooks
same
is
thing.
like that too.
And it's funny you mentioned playing the hands because I remember, I think it was last year. I want to say it was last year's Texas-Oklahoma State game. I was in Oklahoma City in my hotel room, and the Tech-Iowa State game was on that morning. And I think it was one of the Iowa State DBs trying to play Antoine Wesley in the end zone. Wesley's 6'5".
Yep.
And Brooks is talking about the same things. Like when you're a smaller DB, he's like, you've got to play the hands. You've got to shoot your hands. It's like, because if you try to play the ball against a 6'5" receiver and you're 5'10", you're screwed. That's not a matchup you're going to win. You physically cannot high point that football. Yeah. So you got to play the hands.
Gotta play the hands,
and
man.
I'm like, wow, that's just simple, but it's guys that just study the game and see the game from that position.
Yeah.
Pick up those little things. And that's another thing, Rod. These guys are terrible at playing the ball, and you're not seeing it from week to week get better. And it's not just the young guys; it's the veteran guys too.
It's all the DBs.
Like how often do we get on Chris Boyd for having bad eyes?
No, you're right. Yeah, I said about Deshaun Jameson. That touchdown he gave to Rager. He is literally. And he does number one. Dude, if you're find the wide receiver, find the receiver. Even if you're playing zone or you're playing man, you still got to find the wide receiver.
I'm not Rod. You've forgotten more about DB play than I'll ever know. And I can't tell you what coverage guys are in unless I really go look at it. I can't tell you in the heat of the moment.
It's hard.
But I do know if I'm in my back pedal and Jalen Rager's running by me, I'm screwed.
That's what I'm saying.
I got to turn and run.
You got to turn and run. How do you know? All they were running were quick stop routes, and then they were either running deep routes. And I don't understand how you don't understand. Oh, no, that guy's Jalen Rager, he's definitely running deep most of the time. You were already in a stride. They had you. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's something that if you
running.
don't know with your football IQ, your coaches should be telling you when you get back to the sideline, like that's eliminated from the route. If
he was in zone, he played it wrong because he at the wrong leverage. He ended up being inside, and Jalen Rager ended up on the outside shoulder of him, passing him up. So he didn't feel the receiver or identify the receiver. If he was playing man, even worse, right? Because you were basically in no man's land. You didn't even play your man. You played your own zone. So I'm telling you, man, it's upsetting as a DB watching the young DBs because I know how talented they are. They are. But you can tell right now that they aren't studying the subtle nuances of the game because they're right there. That's the frustrating thing. It'd be different if they were broken coverages.
No, like you're like, oh, he's gonna pick it, and then he's touchdown.
Right. Oh, yeah, he's like they're right there. So they don't know when to look and lean. They don't know to play the hands or the eyes, and it's just that stuff like that, man. And I know they being taught that kind of stuff. I Nasty Nate's over there, and Michael Huff Daddy over there. So I know they being taught it because
But it's about applying it on the field
those guys
in real time.
They learned it when I learned. They were in the same damn room I was in when Coach Aquino was teaching it.
I think defensively though, people are like looking for an answer. Like, well, is it all Todd Orlando? Is it inexperience? Is it injuries? And my answer is yes.
It's a gumbo.
Yes.
It's a gumbo, baby. Yeah. It's
Can't
a perfect
point your finger
storm.
at one thing, unfortunately.
Yes, you do have
experience. That easy to be fixed, it'd be fixed.
Yeah.
Yes, you do have experience issues. Yes, you have had injuries. Yes, Todd Orlando's calls are bad. And yes, guys aren't making plays when they're put in a position to make plays.
Agreed.
The times that they are, it's not happening. So it's just like you said, Rod, it's just this toxic soup of funk that is the Texas defense right now.
It's all on Todd Orlando, though. He's supposed to be able to figure out how to mitigate the damage, and I think even Tom Herrmann understands he's not doing that right now. I think they're really bad at self-scouting, too. The fact that Tom Herman admitted that they were surprised that Max Duggan threw the football on them. And I was
would
like,
they-
They're
thought
only
they
going to do
would
it
run
because
it.
it's
And
like
I'm like, have
everybody-
you watched? Yes,
Everybody you played's throwing the ball on you.
dude, everybody's throwing the ball.
Rod has a great point here, though, because like it's a main thing in fantasy is it isn't how good the player is, it's how bad the defense you're facing is.
Yeah.
And that's the idea of production. That of course they haven't ran or thrown on anybody else, but when they're facing a team that's struggling stopping the pass, they're gonna attack that, and you should know that because that's how you would attack the
Austin
defense.
Kendall, most attempts of his career. Jalen Hurts, most attempts this year since his freshman year at Alabama. Carter Stanley, second most attempts in his career, behind the 48. Joe Burrow, it was the most attempts in his career at that time. He at Auburn, against Auburn, he had 42. Everybody's having career. I mean, everybody's throwing the football
So
a ton.
the next team's gonna try to throw it on
Even
ya.
guys who we know weren't necessarily competent seasoned passers were deciding we're going to throw it. And you were shocked that Duggan, who also
after Carter
had,
Stanley.
had his best season that his best game that he has of the season. And it's like, you guys don't self-scout then.
No.
So what are the analysts around there doing? Because they're supposed to be doing what the hell I do on my show, which is say, this is how Texas is going to get attacked. This is exactly how I would attack Texas. And you don't know.
Tom Herman's an offensive mind. He should know that that's how
crazy
what
to
you
me,
do
man.
is you go.
They don't-
That's an odd statement.
He did. He made that statement.
I know.
You
But I'm
remember-
saying that was an odd one.
That's
You
strange.
remember that 2012 defense when there was like that
I'm just
run
being
of
talking.
guys, they were giving up 100-yard rushers and guys were having like career days
Yeah.
running the football. And at some point it's like, look, regardless of where they rank nationally in rushing or what the tendency says, everybody's going to try to run the football on you.
Everybody's going to wonder. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to make their quarterback a +1 in the running game. Carter Stanley wasn't necessarily that, but they did it. Oklahoma State's done it. That's one of the things that also stresses a Todd Orlando defense. Throw the ball early, often, and throw it deep. But also, even if your quarterback's not, we talked about Taylor Cornelius, right? Corn dog ended up being a threat running.
Patterson would have done that if the passing didn't work. It was
Yeah,
just the
exactly.
passing
Well,
worked,
yeah.
so he had no reason to go to option number
But
two.
just saying that also is a stress. It's a stressor, and he can't. Todd Orlando's defense really can't handle that really well either. And I think that's what hurts him in terms of why he doesn't want to just drop guys back into coverage. He thinks he'll get beat that way too.
To your point about quarterback +1 in the run game, Rod, you look at TCU's rushing numbers. Darius Anderson, 9 for 27. Shewa Lanalua, 16 for 48. Who was their leading rusher? Max Duggan, 13 for 72.
Yeah.
Then a touchdown.
Yeah, it's the quarterback. It's hard for his defense to account for it,
Especially with these linebackers. I mean,
That's right,
it's
they
like
can't
it's like I
run.
said, like
Yeah.
you can in this league, you can have Delia Dayaway on the field,
Yeah.
or you can have Jawan Mitchell on the field. And I realize like injuries, you have to play who you got to play.
Yeah.
But if you got both those guys on the field, you're going to get exposed.
Agreed.
Period.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. It's not, and that to me is on Todd Orlando. That's Delia
scheme
Dayaway and
stuff.
Jawan Mitchell. I think are giving you what they've got.
Yeah, but
But
then you need to design
that's
the
on you.
defense around like their strengths
Or their
and try to
skill set.
cover up their weaknesses a little bit. Yeah, what you're doing, and I agree.
The
I'm with you.
one thing though that I think aggravates me more than anything with this defense, and like legitimately aggravates me, and we talked about this, like I talked about it with Manny Diaz, and we talked about it with different Texas DCs. Like, why would you do that if you've got that call that asks that guy to do that? Get it out. It's a bad call. As God is my witness, if I see Joseph Osai drop into coverage 20 yards down the field one more time, I'm
crazy,
going to
man.
launch myself out of the press
No, it's
box
unbelievable.
window.
No, I'm serious.
Like
I don't understand
he's your
it either.
best pass rusher.
Best pass.
You are not getting you're not
your
getting a
only
pass rush with your
positive
down
one.
lineman. Period. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen this year.
Nope.
It won't happen. Your best pass rusher, Joseph Osai. Rod, why do you insist on dropping him into coverage?
That third, like I said, that 3rd and 11.
Why do you insist on using him as a nickel back?
He drops back in the coverage. I'm like, dude. And then the next 3rd 14, he's the one that almost gets the sack.
And to your point, Jeff,
Yeah,
not
I
only
agree.
is our,
I'm with you, man.
not
He should
only-
be Sergio Kindle in this defense.
yeah,
and
not
he's not.
only is
It's
he
upsetting.
the best, but he's the only one that's like above average. So when you're talking about the idea of a win above replacement or like what is left to pass rush,
Yeah.
that's a cratering drop between the two whenever you're taking him maybe back into now. I don't know how his confidence is in the other guys to drop back because maybe he's just confidence in Osai being able to do a
anything.
tool
Yes,
that can
I
do
totally
it all.
agree. He can.
Yet still, you have to understand the opportunity cost that comes with what you do with each position and what
Exactly.
you're left with.
If you are going to rush, if you want to actually, you want to emphasize pass rush on that down, and you rush 5, that means you're emphasizing pass rush over coverage. Joseph Osai needs to be one of the 5.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like if you're emphasizing coverage, I understand that. Then you drop your guys back. But if you're going to emphasize pass rush at any time, and Joseph Osai is not one of those guys, then you messed up.
It's a bad call.
You back.
Yeah,
Pretty
you
much.
need some
Back
type
on.
of
Pretty much. You
CB.
messed up. Yeah, I don't know what you did. They had him down. They had him a traditional defensive end in those 4-man.
You know what I
fronts.
thought
See
one of the
him?
best plays they
him
had,
down
Rod? If you look at
three-man.
TCU's first drive on the
Yeah.
3rd and 1, when they start in a 3-man, they fan out, they end up in a 4-man line. Osai's got his hand on the ground. They
Yeah.
run blitz Jawan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And they stuff Shea Will for no gain on a
Mhm.
3rd and 1.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, that was a run blitz. It was competent. You look good. All gaps are accounted for.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up. Great. You're off to a good start. But
saw those plays.
it would be one thing too, like if you did like I go back to like what Charlie Strong's staff justified using Malik Jefferson in the middle, and it's like, well, if you use him in the middle, if you don't have him to one side, it's tougher to game plan for him. We can like get him out in the open and he can run and do some other things. I don't like it, but at least you're justifying it to me. Like to me, if you were using Joseph Osai as an inside linebacker, you say, look, he's our most instinctive defender. Having him in the middle of the second level, at least we can do some different things with him. He can be in a position where we can move him around and do some things. Fine. But if you're just having him to one side of the field and he's dropping 15 yards into coverage, you're
wasting
It's
him.
basically like offensively when Cade Brewer's out of the game and you insist on still going to 11 personnel and Reese Latol's one of your receivers in a pass route. I'm sorry, but that's not doing anything for you.
Yeah, we got to talk about that too.
So,
unfortunately,
it's a huge. The bye week is huge for the staff. Period. It's kind of one of those, as you said, Rod. It's the man in the mirror moment for a lot of
they
guys.
might have to reset
on that staff. Honestly, one of the changes I would make. Look, if you're not going to use Chris Adamora, which I didn't think Chris Adamora was bad in the Oklahoma State game, and why, if you're forced to play young DBs, why you're not using him in some of those situations?
That's
I
true.
don't know.
Yeah.
Do you honestly know what I would do to change this week? One change I would make. I would move Brandon Jones back to deep safety. I would train Jalen Green in the nickel.
I might agree with you on that because I was thinking about that even when you had your corners now healthy. And I was going to say you could even think about training Deshaun Jameson because I remember you saying that Deshaun Jameson could be a good nickel because he's kind of natural, he's good football instincts. Or even Anthony Cook because I know you played him inside. I was thinking the exact same thing because I think Brandon Jones now, with you giving up so many deep balls, you just need somebody back there who can play the deep ball, and maybe you'll start dropping him back as a center.
Because if you need somebody in a cover two that's going to understand route concepts and responsibilities, it's going to be your senior that's played a crap ton of football in the Big 12. Yep. And you know why I like Jalen Green in the nickel? He might be your best tackler in the secondary.
He's physical. He is physical.
Yeah.
But then I will say the nickel, not everybody can cover that two-way go in the slot. So
but hell, Rob, could it be anyway? Like what's the alternative at this point? Like what?
That's why Brandon Jones that's why he's been so crucial because there aren't a lot of guys who have the hips to be able to cover that slot with the two-way go. Most of the guys will get abused in that role.
But hell, it couldn't be any worse at this point.
No,
right?
no, it could. But Brandon Jones has actually been.
No, but I'm saying like Brandon Jones to me is more
but
valuable to you on the back end.
It leaves you vulnerable on the back end in terms of the deep balls you've given up. And I bet if we track it since Brandon Jones has moved to nickel, they've probably been. Texas has given up more deep balls.
Last couple games.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like they've given up more deep balls.
More than Harrison.
No, I did. I actually did. Here's my study. I did a study on the amount of deep balls that Texas has given up versus Power 5 teams. They've allowed teams to complete 43% of their deep balls so far this year. Now, if you're like, I need some kind of perspective on that.
Astounding.
Sam Ehlinger last year had the highest deep ball passer rating in the Big 12, 126.3. And it was second in the Power 5, fourth in the FBS. So he throws really good deep balls. He has Colin Johnson. He's got Devin Duvernay. He's got Brennan Eagles, who's like averaging 19 yards a catch on 19 receptions. He's got great deep ball weapons. His deep ball completion percentage is 33.8.
Yeah.
Okay.
A third
so that's
is
really good.
Really good.
Exactly. It's like a 3-point shot almost, right? In the NFL, the average completion percentage on deep balls is 37% actually. So that's your NFL like elite quarterbacks. My point being, right now, if you take Kansas out of the equation, because Kansas threw 18 deep balls against Texas, because Brent Dearman watched a lot of film. By the way, Tom Herrmann might need to think about hiring that guy.
Yeah.
He was so smart. He figured out, no, let's just throw it against Texas as much as possible deep because they can't cover us. And they threw it 18 times. You take them out of the equation because they skew the numbers. Texas is allowing teams to complete 53% of their deep balls versus Power 5 teams. By the way, Colin Johnson last year, one of the best deep ball threats in the country and still is. Damn, we forgot how good Colin Johnson was. Man, when that guy's out there, you forget how good he is.
What he does in the sidelines, he's going to be... It's absurd.
Yeah, it's absurd. We'll talk about him when we talk about the offense. But his deep ball catch rate last year, 53.8%.
Just absurd.
So basically, if you take Kansas out of the equation versus Power 5 teams, if you throw it deep against Texas,
Everybody's
Colin Johnson.
You're basically
we've made him everybody All-American.
Colin Johnson. Yeah,
Everybody should go deep.
That's how bad the deep ball
Great
status
study.
is right now. Yeah, the deep ball defense.
You're basically playing the RG3 Baylor offense every week.
Yeah, and a smart team's just going to
With
throw
better
it like
production.
that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Iowa State will, and everybody changes up against Texas for that reason. Yeah.
Anything else we want to say about the defense, guys? I mean, I think we're pretty much.
I think we did a good job of summing it all up.
Yep, quite comprehensive.
Who had the best game on defense before we talk offense?
Brandon Jones.
Yeah, Brandon Jones. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Brandon Jones had a good game. Yeah. I'm glad to hear
Really
that.
good tackling in the open field. He had
Got
the
the pick.
interception.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, and I'll give an honorable mention to Joseph Osai because any production he gets when he's playing 20 freaking yards off the line of scrimmage is.
And with the shoulder injury, don't forget the guys.
Yeah,
the guys
I
got
just
shoulder
that
injuries.
just.
Yeah.
I
He's
just
a
can't
freak.
get over that, Rod. Like it's
I don't know
one thing.
either.
Okay, bad week, bad
That's what I'm
calls,
saying,
whatever. Fix it. No, he's
That's
still like
mishandling personnel.
floating out there. Like
That is, to me, that is personnel malpractice. When you had a guy like that is that good on the front and you got him dropping back in coverage. But anyway, I understand. Yeah, we can talk about that for that could be a whole podcast in itself.
is Texas last?
And he's still balling, by the way.
Is Texas last in the Big 12 in sacks right now?
I can look it up.
No,
I have no clue.
I think it was TCU actually, but now TCU was last in forced turnovers, so they had 5 going into that game, and then they ended up with 4. So I don't know where it is right now.
Give me a second to look.
Looking at Texas sack rate, if we're just looking at national sack rate, 112th in the nation, 4.1%, and then standard down sack rate is 78th, and passing down sack rate, which is the worrisome one, 119th. So in passing down situations, when you have, because in passing downs you can't take away.
Is that
the DB,
D-line
so
Matt, or
think-
is that overall?
This is going to be D-line stats, but this makes sense that on passing downs, our D-line is 119th
That
at
makes
getting
sense.
home on the quarterback because especially
It's by 3rd and
when-
14s.
and
And,
then when everybody's injured, so you have to have
Wow.
more people to cover, then you have even lesser of a pass rush, and they have no chance of getting home. So it's just a bad marriage.
Texas is 9th out of 10 teams in the Big 12 in sacks per game, 1.63. Only K-State is worse. That's 97th in the country.
What'd you say the standard down sack rate was for D-line, Matt?
79th, I believe, or
That's
78th.
not,
I'll pull it
that's
back
not
up.
bad. That's not bad.
It's not
About
good.
Worse
It's
than
not
worse than average, but still not bad. 78th, 4.6%.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, anyway.
it's almost not doing us any good to talk about the defensive issues, Rod, because it's the same stuff every week.
Yeah, but I think we get more clarity on it, and if Todd Orlando, whether he's
Because
ultimately
this week was a little different.
yeah, but ultimately this is Todd Orlando's. You know, he's kind of coaching for his job. Honestly, I think a lot of us feel that way.
words
And
from
if it
Herrmann's
continues to deteriorate, then I think they may be forced to make a
It'd be
change.
one of them breakups that it's just best for both worlds
Yeah,
to move
so
on from here.
But I think if Todd Orlando turns things around and and is able to kind of figure out how to solve some of these issues, and I think he could very likely everybody be like, oh, everything's fine. And I think everything's fine with Todd Orlando and Tom Herman right now. But if we
it's
continue
tough
to
for
see
a first love
issues,
type because this is like him and
If-
Orlando's is DC. Like there's a little bit of an attachment. So it's just talking about that's a complex.
No question. No, and I agree.
Yeah.
And Tom Herman doesn't want to make changes, but I will say when the players come back healthy, when you get because they're expecting BJ Foster and Case
Foster,
Stearns,
Stearns, McCulloch, Overshown,
So,
all
you
those
get
guys.
you get
are
all
supposed
those
to be
guys
for
back,
K-State.
and we still have these issues. That'll be the ultimate indictment of Todd Orlando because I think most people are assuming right now the injuries have a lot to do with it, and I believe that too. But if they come back and it's worse,
Yeah. Well,
That-
and then
that
especially
could
if
be
say
the
like
beginning of the
after,
end.
and this is assuming you get bowl eligible, but after you get that bowl camp where you get like a couple
Yeah.
weeks of practice, because that's actually a time where you can get healthy,
Yeah.
you can implement things,
Texas,
and you
Georgia.
can show signs of improvement.
Yep.
So that's going to be a big one, and
Totally
no matter
agree.
where we go.
To me, it's
Totally agree.
not even about the Tom Herman Todd Orlando relationship. To me, it's at some point, like I've talked about with Manny Diaz and with Vance Bedford / Charlie Strong. At some point, do you lose the players? At some point, do the players start thinking, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about?
lose trust in the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. That can happen. Yeah,
That
no
to me is
doubt.
what Tom Herman has to look at. Tom
No
Herman
doubt.
has to take any self-preservation, personal feelings. You got to take it out of the equation.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
If
it
he
is.
sees those guys have lost confidence in Todd Orlando, at that point you got to do something. Now,
totally
can
agree.
you get it back? Yeah, I mean, if Texas wins out, then and goes to the Big 12 championship game, then we're obviously talking about defensive improvements.
Yeah.
At that point. With that said, I don't think we've seen anything in the last 4 weeks that leads us to believe that that's going to happen.
I have. Listen, they were dreadful in tackling before this game, and they only missed 9 tackles, and that tackling wasn't the issue. They did miss some crucial ones, but that wasn't a big issue in the game. So I'm assuming that tackling is improving because it was such a glaring issue. Todd Orlando is open to evolve. He did have the 4-man front, which people have been like he's been listening to sports radio, like people have called for. He did run a 4-man front with 3 down linemen. He did experiment with some new looks, some simulated pressure. You know, he's dropping guys back in third and double digits at times just to try to be less aggressive and err on the side of conservative. I'm seeing growth from Todd Orlando. I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if it'll save the day for him.
Yeah.
But I am seeing him grow, and that's what I want to see from a coach. He's in tough times. The injuries, the youth, the inexperience, it being in the Big 12. I think Matt's right. He's been exposed. I think the film is out there now in Todd Orlando's defense and what I think the weaknesses structurally are of it in terms of the integrity of the defense. And all things he's got to correct. And I also think him as a defensive play caller, he's in a bit of an identity crisis right now because I think teams are, or at least offensive coordinators, they're playing him more so than his defense. They're basically trying to put pressure on Todd Orlando and force him into making a mistake as a play caller. So he's got to go into all those things. But I did see improvement. It is baby steps, but I saw some.
Right. I mean, I'm just talking about just the totality of.
No, I totally get it.
You know, have you seen enough in the last 4 weeks that leads you to believe they can win their last 4 games?
No, of course not. But
once you get some bodies back,
but you got a bye week. Exactly.
And then that's the main thing that if, like, say that group and you get some guys back, and then you continue to have the same structural problems within the scheme and the defense, then the confidence stuff that you're talking about, Jeff, could maybe come into play. But I don't think with these just backups and random inexperienced guys filling in, they're nowhere in a level to even have confidence in the scheme. They don't even have confidence in their own play right now. And it's just sort of, filling the gaps until those guys get back.
Yeah, this K-State game is shaping up to be absolutely pivotal for the program. We'll have to carry offense over, maybe carry it over to next week, but let's get as much done as we can while we can.
Yeah, we got time.
I said for a few weeks, hey, even Sam Ehlinger's bad games aren't that bad. No, his bad game was pretty terrible.
That was a bad game. That was the worst. Is that the worst Sam Ehlinger game we've seen?
Yeah, easily. Probably. I haven't seen him
for sure.
I think it might be the worst Sam I've seen.
I'm not sure.
The Texas Tech game his freshman year at the end was really bad.
Texas Tech, he had that meltdown, but he was a freshman. So as a freshman, I think my expectation for Sam was very different. Now, with what I've seen the growth from Sam, this is the worst game I've seen from Sam because now I know what kind of player.
Because at least Maryland 2 of those picks are solely on Sam. Like 2 of them still.
Tom Herrmann said just one.
Oh, just one.
Whoa,
that's what he said. Okay. I'm with you.
But it's about
he said it was just one. Yeah, miscommunication.
He made a few mistakes. Ehlinger made some obvious mistakes on a few passes, but then some receivers made some mistakes on. So
Sam said after the game, the one that Trayvon Mulring picked off, where Jared Wiley's going sideline one. Sam said he was trying to throw it away. Herrmann said he wasn't. Sam said he was. So,
and I thought that was interesting because when you think about it, we've talked and bragged about how Sam Ehlinger and Tom Herrmann almost now they echo the same just kind of coachisms. They say the same things, starting to sound like one another, and they do have this hive mind. And that's interesting. It's the first time they literally about the same play, like 2 totally different views of it.
But I wonder though.
He was trying to fit it in there. I was like, okay.
I wonder though how much of that though, Rod. Like that's Sam right after the game saying, "No, I was trying to throw it away. Guy made a great play," and that's after reviewing the film where Tom Herman's going, "No, bull crap. You tried to fit in a window and."
Okay. No, it could be. I'm just saying it's rare that to the public they don't have the same opinion of something.
But anything right after a football game, sometimes I would assume you're as mentally exhausted as other. You might just be
honestly, sometimes that's when you get the meat because after that you got time to think about it.
The filter's not there. You let some stuff out.
I think that he probably was trying to throw it away. I'm gonna go with what Sam initially said.
That speaks to how disjointed the offense was.
Exactly.
On Saturday, though.
That's my point.
It just. And, I think we go back to this part of the defensive discussion really bleeds into the offense, where you say teams have figured out Todd Orlando, or teams have figured out how to defend this Texas offense, at least the better defensive ends.
I'm with you.
And it's about breaking tendencies.
Yeah.
And to me, we could talk about, figuring stuff out. To me, breaking tendencies is the bigger overall topic on offense. Because in that matchup, Gary Patterson broke tendency.
Yeah,
he said, hey, we played a lot of man, decided to mix it up and play more zone this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't feel like this Texas coaching staff, players executing, whatever you want to put it on, they did not do a good job right of breaking tendencies. And even at a point in the game, and I mentioned this earlier, at a point in the game where Cade Brewer goes out with an ankle injury, and at that point you've got the opportunity. Okay, now you can really switch it up, and whatever 10 personnel or 20 personnel, whatever personnel grouping you've been working with, now you can go with it. They just rolled with their 11 personnel and just kept on chugging.
Yeah. And to your point, I get back to the red zone, because the red zone is probably one of the most glaring reasons that Texas lost this game, right? 5 red zone trips, 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and you missed a field goal. So I gave the stat out, I think it was right before the Oklahoma game, that remember the tendency about first down in the red zone, that Texas was actually throwing the football 79% of the time on first down in the red zone. This is right before the Oklahoma game.
And it was so extreme that they were literally running on all first downs before they get to the red zone.
It was crazy. Yeah, I think their actual pass rate or run rate, they were running the ball like 50. They were passing the ball like 56% of the time on first down normally, just on first down.
In the red zone, it was like 78 or 80.
But in the red zone, it increased exponentially. It's like 79%. But Sam Ellinger was really, really good when passing on first down in the red zone. I think he was 11 of 14 at the time, so he was completing around 76% of his passes. And of those 11 completions, 7 of them were touchdowns and 2 of them were first downs. Okay, so fast forward. So since I threw out that stat, Texas is 2 of 11 when throwing the football on first down in the red zone. All right. They had 6 first downs in the red zone versus TCU. So in the last 4 games, they're 2 of 11 throwing the football on first down in the red zone. They had 6 first downs in the red zone versus TCU. They threw the football on 5 of them, and they had only 1 completion, 1 for 1 yard with Devin Duvernay. All right. So TCU and Gary Patterson knew going into this game, to Jeff's point, oh, dude, they throw the ball on first down in the red zone. They're going to throw the ball on first down in the red zone. Don't play anything else. First down in the red zone, they will throw the ball. And Texas, on first down in the red zone, threw the ball and were unsuccessful. And I think the last 4 games, teams have figured out, and they've been saying that to their guys, hey, first down in the red zone, Texas is going to throw the ball. Be ready for it. And what was an advantage for you throwing the football in the red zone, where usually you would unleash Bam Bam Sam and teams were taken aback by it and surprised by it. Now, with all that film out there, 4 or 5 games
unpredictable
in,
then.
It was then.
Now it is.
Now it's not.
It's the film.
Yeah, now you got to flip the script on it, and they're still doing it. I'm like,
got to keep them off balance. I mean,
if Rod B figured it out, there are guys that are paid money to watch film that have figured that out.
Yes,
Tom, you got to break that up. So to your point, they're becoming very predictable,
and that's that constant
tendencies.
Battle of trying to be ahead of that edge of those tendencies. It's why people envy what Belichick does, or literally talk all the time about what Shanahan's done since he's taken over offenses everywhere he's went, because to stay constantly ahead, because then you're in Corey, it becomes that poker game again, and you know that they're going to be something that should be expecting it, so you should have it isn't a gamble necessarily at that point if you go against the grain of what you're doing, even though it's going against conceptually what you believe they're going to do. It's like you're playing the other coach at that point.
Look at those interceptions. How many of them look like the DB was choreographing the route for the wide receiver? I mean, that Devin Duvernay route, man, jumped it. A lot of those routes, the guys just jumped them.
Yeah.
This
they just filmed. They knew,
football IQ, just like what you were saying.
And how often we talk about the wide receivers, they all kind of run the same routes. You know what Brandon Eagles runs, Colin Johnson runs, Duvernay, they all run the same routes. Yeah, you ran the slot fade, and TCU wasn't ready for it because, oh, damn, they never run the slot fade.
No.
Hell, Jake Smith was wide open when he gave him a little juke, and then went on the slot fade. Why? Because you never run it. They're not even Gary Patterson is all about tendencies. Why am I going to tell my guys to cover something you don't run? All right, that's why my guys are aggressive and jump routes, and they never run a slot fade. It was wide open twice.
You realize
if you break tendencies, you got it wide open.
You realize pretty much every time they run the wheel route close to the red zone, they score on it because they hardly ever run it.
And they don't use their running backs in that way anymore downfield as vertical threats. I'm with you. I think they should use your 20 personnel now that they don't have the.
Did you see that they used it once?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I about had a heart attack. I see him in the backfield. I'm like, oh my God, they're there together. It's Roshan Johnson, Keontae Ingram together, and then Roshan motions out. That was the one that it was like the the swing, the flare pass to Ingram that they counted as a lateral.
There are some things. They threw some wrinkles in there. Remember, they would start off tight, and then they would have kind of the starburst. They would all spread out.
Gary Patterson said gave them some problems.
Exactly. It just pre-snap motion and shifts. It, it's good. So you got to throw more of that stuff in there, and I don't think we've seen enough of it. And like I said, Colin Johnson is, we forget how good he is, but considering how they just throw him out there on an island and they never move him around and never use any scheme or innovative way to get him open, dude, he is really freaking good.
Yeah.
He's way better than we give him credit for, man. Sam's going to miss that dude because think about how many contested catches he just hauls in.
Or
the
catches
degree
that
of
no
difficulty.
other person you've ever seen in your life
Catch
catch
rate,
along the
dude.
sideline. What he does on the sidelines
It's
is absurd.
unbelievable.
It made me question how we judge footballs going out of bounds as a runner. Because if you run, they act like it's an invisible force field and you're out of bounds where you run out. Colin Johnson had that one catch where his entire body, except for his ankle, was still in play. He's like 4 yards out of bounds, and he's widening the field to 60 yards on that.
So put that guy in the slide and let him run the
Yeah, Rod, that's another thing.
Or drag him across the formation.
It's almost
and let him run a
like
deep crossing route.
And this is kind of one of those deals with Todd Orlando too, and we're seeing him kind of break out of it. It's almost like if Colin Johnson can't beat Jeff Gladney, then you're just willing to just like it's almost like doing something else. Yeah. It's almost like moving him around is admitting defeat.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You're just getting a better matchup.
It's very strange. I agree with you.
Like Jeff Gladney's an NFL corner.
Yeah.
He's going to get drafted reasonably high.
Why work harder when you can work smarter?
That's and
this is a
I don't want to get
harder offense.
I don't want to get too big
Is
picture.
quite particular.
Well, hold on.
The tools they like.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too big picture. Tom Herrmann said after the game, we just got to go back to work. We got to work harder. Nobody's saying you're not working hard.
Yeah.
You got to work smarter.
You got to work smarter, man. Yeah. I agree. They work. There's a hard working offense, but not a smart working offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, nobody's doubting that you're not working hard.
Yeah.
Like, I disagreed vehemently with, like, I caught some of Bucky and Aaron on my way into the studio today. And Aaron saying it's got to be a burn the midnight oil week for the staff. No, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Just need you to add more of those wrinkles.
If you're just banging your head against the wall till 2 a.m, what good are you doing yourself?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. They just need to add a cut. You said TCU, Gary Patterson said, they gave us some trouble. Yeah, because you hadn't seen it. So now add more things. This is one thing I think they're missing. I think they're really bad at self-scouting. What's another thing that we've talked about on this show, and I've talked about, and it's a new evolution in football at every level at the highest degree. I want to know, and you need to ask them this, do you have a research and development department? And I know Tom Herrmann said, yeah, we steal plays here and there. Where are those plays that y'all steal? Because that's what Andy Reid does, what Sean Payton does, what Sean McVay, Shanahan, they all admit we literally have 4 or 5 guys in a room watching the best offenses in college.
Drafts quarterbacks just to pick their mind.
Best offense in the NFL, and I say, steal me 3-4 really good plays a week. I just need to steal them, and then we will incorporate them with our own terminology within the scheme of our offense. I don't see that. Where is that? I'm talking about said he does it, but I don't know. What are these analysts doing if they're not self-scouting? All right, and they're not research and development. Like, what are they doing?
Well, and when you look within our personnel,
right?
and
you should be watching Lincoln Riley, right? There should be somebody in a room right now watching Lincoln Riley run plays and Shanahan run plays and going, okay, we taking these plays.
This is our run game. We're gonna go learn from him here.
Why are you not taking? You should be watching. Like, I want Shanahan's running game, and because you can run some of this concept that they're doing. Because Lincoln Riley and Shanahan, some of the counter stuff they do is the same stuff. Conceptually, I don't get it. I Lincoln Riley would hate me if I was a coach because I'd be stealing everything he does.
Use it against him.
Dude, everything you did against us, I would just take it and steal it. That's what everybody's doing.
Yeah,
why don't we do that?
And right, it's basically taking that concept and then fitting it to your personnel. It's like nobody. I don't care if you are Kyle Shanahan or Lincoln Riley or Sean Payton. Like nobody in football is like inventing something new anymore.
No.
You're all taking stuff and then saying, okay, based on what I do, I like this. Like everybody looks at Oklahoma's running game like, oh my God, the GT play is so like it's the same damn counter trade like the Cowboys were running back in the early 90s. You're just doing it from the shotgun and out of a one-back set.
Some jet sweep motion to it.
You're just running a defender out, adding a defender to the
window
run game
dressing for everything. It's all the plays. All it's about now is window dressing, and that's why that pre-snap motion that they did. Gary Patterson was like, oh, what is this? Yeah, that's all you got to do. Just combine a couple of Chico. They didn't move the pocket versus TCU.
No.
What happened to moving the pocket? I thought we were going to move the pocket
But they've been so good when they've done that this
What happened
year.
to the misdirection that we were going to see? Didn't see any of that. I'm with you. I think the offense needs to grow and evolve. And I think that Cade Brewer, out of necessity, it will force their hand. then maybe we'll get more of the 20 personnel that you talked about and the 10 personnel that we've heard about. You know what I mean?
And if you talk about just the particularness of this offense, and I mean, you like being able to have everything look similar and disguise things, but we haven't seen anything more than within like variation within a position because they're very particular skills within. So when we talk about predictability, like you would like to see something new that's inventive, because if each role is sort of almost clearly defined and only has a universe of like a certain amount of options within it, it really can dumb down what would be a complex or very good offense whenever you're just almost compartmentalizing yourself into things. And then because you're so particular about specific roles within it, it keeps you from thinking outside the box, incorporating new ideas with guys in different positions that the defense hasn't seen. And then it just sort of keeps you from being inventive beyond what that base offense is.
Yeah. In every defense, and this goes back to Todd Orlando needing to evolve, needing to adjust. There's a way to attack every defense. I don't care what front you run, what blitz packages you have, what coverage you want to run.
There's a weakness.
Right. If you're a cover 3, everybody's got cover 3 beaters. If you're a quarter seam, everybody's got quarters beaters. And it's almost like, I don't know, like maybe I've got PTSD from that Maryland game 2 years ago, but it's almost like when the offense, when it's time to go into panic mode, when stuff goes bad, it's almost like they just default to that.
Yeah. No, I think Tom Herrmann, and this is why, and like I said, I think he's still calling the plays, but hell, who knows at this point? He got conservative in that game. He was on the 3-yard line, a 4th and 1. On the 3-yard line,
the damn field
and
goal.
He kicked the field goal. I think about Texas.
I couldn't believe it.
Texas kicked 4 field goals now in the red zone? 4. The first one they kicked was in the Oklahoma game. All right, that's because he wasn't getting any offense, right? I believe that was it. The first one. He didn't get any offense.
Was that one that was
in the first half?
Was that in the first half, or I thought that was the one that was
maybe not?
No, I think the one in the red zone field goal in the OU game. I think that was late when they were trying to say, "Hey, let's get the field goal now."
But this one was quite telling because you're literally in the red zone down inside the 5. It's early in the game, and
right, it takes away confidence. No. It made it 27-20 in the 4th. That red
so
zone
you're
field
thinking
goal
just take the field goal.
So
now.
it was like a necessity you had to. Your second field goal in the red zone was Kansas game winner. Okay. So it makes sense, right? Versus TCU, you had 2 field goals in the red zone.
In the first half.
And you had a missed field goal in the red zone. But as Matt pointed out, you were on the basically the 3-yard line with a 4th and 1 chance to get a first down with Bam Bam Sam, a fullback playing quarterback.
And you're a physical team.
And you're supposed to be a physical team, and
with you
chose to kick a field goal.
I couldn't believe that.
We know you like to roll the dice. So he wasn't himself in that game. I think early on, he was nervous. He didn't set the tone. You set the tone, and you know your defense ain't gonna win games. You know your defense is gonna get ran up and down.
The goal line offense was perfect for the first 20 touchdowns.
If you know your defense is gonna get embarrassed, why the hell aren't you trying to put up as many points as possible? Why are you kicking a field goal on the 3-yard line?
Agreed.
Why?
Fully.
With Bam Bam Sam back there. Why? Because you still got PTSD from LSU whipping you on the goal line, and you hadn't really gone back to it since as much as you should. Which is why in the red zone you're throwing the ball more than you should run, and all this. And I love that you're breaking tendency and you're trying to catch people by surprise. But right now you're not even using Bam Bam Sam anymore. What happened to Bam Bam Sam?
They did it on the first score on their first drive. Ellinger had the 2-yard run on 3rd and 3, and like you said, it's 4th and 1 at the 3. Hell, I would have just gone tempo, gone right back to it.
Back to it.
No matter what you do, you go for it there.
You go for it there. I think you're a numbers guy.
I think you guys
give your team confidence. It doesn't make you appear to be confident in physicality. Everything.
I think the 3 of us are on the same page. None of us have had an issue with the fact that Tom Herrmann goes for it on 4th down because we've all looked at the research and it all says you should go for it more often than not.
Yeah. It's
just you got a better stuff than they've had in some of these games, like the Oklahoma State game.
I agree.
The Kansas game, you got a better stuff. But at that point, and especially right in this game, like. You're not going to beat TCU if you're not the more physical team. And Gary Patterson said this after the game. He's like, whoever wins this game is going to be it's a more physical football team. He's like, Texas was the more physical team last year. We're the more physical team today.
Can't believe
and
that.
yeah, I mean,
that was
you have to
You got to take that, man. You gotta go for that. Like even if I don't care what tendency or honestly what football situation, if you're 4th and 1
From the
on
3.
the 3-yard line,
It
chance
goes
to get a
against
first
who,
down,
like you said, it goes against who Tom Herman is.
exactly. We know he likes to take chances like that and go for it on 4th, and we know he likes to be aggressive on the goal line. He's got Bam Bam Sam. That was to me that I was worried right there. I was like, oh, Tom Herman's not himself today.
Because
Not
guess
himself.
what? If Max Duggan drives at 97 yards on your defense, you don't deserve to win the damn game.
Amen. That's what I was like. You know what? You're gonna lose
Well,
anyway.
and who cares? You'll never have a better tool than you have at quarterback
Bam, Bam,
to
Sam.
convert that.
You're
Like,
not gonna let Bam Bam
you're about to
Sam
running
run
out
that?
of time on the road. That's when you need to rely on Bam Bam Sam in a conference game in those situations.
I
But
was worried about that.
Rod, we can talk about the offense. They missed Brennan Eagles, who had to sit out the game with
They
suspension.
did. They missed Brennan Eagles.
But
They did.
really, for Texas, this offensive league came down to 2 reasons why you lost: red zone and turnovers.
Red zone and turnovers.
That's
That's
it.
why you lost. And you still had a shot
Sound like
even
Mac
with the
Brown.
turnovers. And the thing about the turnovers is you forced 2 turnovers, but they were always negated, right? Because one, you forced a turnover, I believe the Brandon Jones pick, and then Sam turns it right back over, right? He throws the interception, I believe. Like literally, I believe that is it back to back? It might be back to back. And then you get the fumble recovery. And I believe,
Yes.
right? That
Yes.
was that back to back.
Yes.
And you get the fumble recovery, and we get missed field goal. I believe the missed field goal is the fumble recovery, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe you're 2, and maybe I'm off here.
Yes.
After the interception,
Yes.
Right?
field goal.
So the 2
Yes.
turnovers, because I went back and watched, like, oh, you didn't get a damn thing under the turnovers then. It ain't even
No.
matter.
Yeah, because you had short fields
had short
from
fields.
the 6, the 26, and then it was
So-
our own 46 or 44. But like it was literally almost midfield or in TCU territory for 3, and you got 3 points out of those 3.
Yeah. There you go. And that's the game in a nutshell. You came into that game 6th best touchdown percentage in the red zone in the country. Right now you're 11, so you didn't drop that far, even though you had a horrible red zone game.
But like if you get 2
And
touchdowns out of those 3 drives, that's the margin.
But TCU was 126th in the country in red zone
They've been
defense.
awful red
They
zone
were the
defense.
worst red zone defense, arguably in the Power 5.
And you didn't go early in the game on 4th and 1 from the 3. That's the one thing that I've scratched my head about more
I'm with
than
you.
I've seen.
I don't
Because
know.
what did we talk about all week with
Make
this
any
game?
sense to me.
Like all you got to do if you TCU's tough to move the ball on, but
Yeah.
if you can get in the red zone,
You
hell,
could. That's what we
yeah.
said. We said, oh man, your money. Just get there. And they got there 5 times. And they only got so basically out of 35 points potentially, you got 20.
Well, you got
Out of
3
those-
on the 3 turnovers or the 3 short fields.
So I'm just talking about so you're supposed to potentially get 35
Like,
points. You left 15 points in the red zone.
We talked
basically.
about red zone or the defensive issues being combination personnel, combination coaching. Like it's got to be when you're that bad, it can't be all on one entity, right?
Yeah.
To me, offensive issues, most of that boils down to coaching. Like if I'm in the red zone, if I've got and granted, Tom Herman's forgotten more football than I'll ever know. But if I've got a red zone call sheet, Rod, jump pass to Reese Lato is probably going to be pretty far down there.
Why
Yeah.
we hadn't seen it till now.
Yeah. I can't believe
But
that.
that's the only other
That
thing.
was so
That's the
weird.
only
I
other.
forgot about that play.
The
That was a
jump-
like
strange
Tebow.
play.
The jump pass is the only thing they've done off of that power stretch look. So if I'm Gary Patterson, I'm telling my linebackers, I'm saying the only thing they're going to play off of it is the jump pass.
Well, they never came back to the Keontae Ingram play. LSU.
No.
They never came back to it. I don't know why, but it was wide open. They should come back. And what happened to Andre Coleman's influence? He's supposed to bring in the design runs for the quarterback run game. Remember that?
But that's what I'm saying with the analysts.
I don't
Are
see
they-
any design runs here. We went to the game because TCU had only given up 67 scrambling yards to quarterbacks the entire year going into that game. And we said, oh, if Texas is going to run the ball with the +1 and Sam, it's got to be with design runs. That's how Brock Purdy beat him up, ran for over like 100 yards. The quarterback from K-State ran for like 60-something yards, doing the same thing with design runs. There weren't many design runs for Sam in that game.
Sam had 9 carries.
What the hell? What no design? I don't know how many of them were
I don't
actual
remember
design
any.
runs. Probably like 1 or 2.
Probably.
Like this year, I thought you were supposed to have design runs for Sam to protect him and also to weaponize him. Nope.
But this is one of those
Nope.
games where you need him.
You're going to need him for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And honestly, you could argue that since he was having such a bad game as a passer, design run Sam would have been way more effective.
Yeah,
Because
that's
TCU would have allocated resources to stop
'Cause
him,
this was
and then
a-
would have opened up passing
But
The
windows.
that's
road
another
game
thing
to
I don't
stay in
understand.
contention right after you saw OU lost.
Right?
Like, it's huge.
And keep your defense from being
This is
exposed.
one of those
Here's
big
another
games.
thing I don't understand.
Don't get it.
Tom Herman and I, Chip Brown's my colleague at Horns 24/7, and Chip and I we tend to disagree on football. Just what's the word I'm looking for? Like football philosophy.
Yeah.
And Chip asked Tom Herman a question on the Big 12 teleconference this week: is the offense losing its identity? And Tom Herman's answer kind of backed up what we were saying. And Tom Herman goes, "Well, if you look at it, we every game we run 4 verticals 8 to 10 times a game."
I heard him say that.
And I'm like, and I was recording the teleconference, and I can hear myself audibly say, "That's kind of the problem."
No, it's not.
Is you're becoming but in
It's how
theory,
you run them. If you run 4 verticals with 20 personnel, like you said, from shotgun split back, and one of your backs is the vertical, is the 4th vertical, then people will go, "Whoa,
but
that's
they're
crazy."
running it from 11 personnel,
And then
Rob.
you
It's
run
the
it from
same
the same
thing.
formation,
Exactly.
the same personnel package. That's why
Yeah.
you can run 4 verticals. You can do it from Shanahan does it. He loves 4
Right.
verticals. He runs from 21 personnel.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you just gotta freak it up a little bit. How about you put Jake Smith? How about you put Duvernay in the backfield and let him run the 4 verts?
Yeah.
Speaking
You know
of,
what I mean? Let him be the guy coming
Right.
out of the backfield running the 4
but
verts.
you mentioned Jake Smith. I don't know.
So frustrating.
They gotta it's just a shame that Jake Smith has hit the freshman wall in the middle of the season.
Yeah. He's
Because
not the same player.
Between the drop,
he'll be a great player though. He'll
drop
be
in the
fine.
Oklahoma
Yeah.
game, the fumble in the Kansas game, and a drop this week with the muff punt.
Yeah.
I think we all agree Jake Smith's going to be a great
He'll be
player,
fine.
but he's hitting that freshman wall right
is.
now.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because I've seen Tom Herman be better. And I know I said the same thing after the Oklahoma game, but you study his offenses at Ohio State, study his offenses at Houston.
Mm-hmm.
They would do that, Rod. They would run 4 verts, but one time they'd run it out of 21 personnel. Then they'd be in 10 personnel.
Yeah.
Then they'd be in 11. You just dress it up differently. It's like we just talked about. You dress it up differently, but it's the same thing.
Same thing, man. Same damn thing.
Well, and also the one difference, though, and not trying to point one thing or the other, he was just an OC then. Right now, he's a head coach. So the scheming ability and all of that,
That's
that
true.
time allocation, it just
a
isn't
good point.
possible to be
That's a great
that
point
deep.
too. But you know what? Then you need to reallocate
to
resources
your fund, all
about
your
you need to find
analysts and
yes.
research development,
there
all
you
the
go.
stuff you were
gotta
talking
bring
about.
in more guys that
And
you
that's
trust.
what they did, but right
Yeah.
now it's a totally different chemistry between
No, I totally
amongst them.
agree, but you know-
It's like you change one element from carbon dioxide to carbon monoxide, it'll kill you.
No.
There's
I'm
throwing
with you.
one thing in there
But
can change a lot.
he can't at this point. He can't watch Sam Ehlinger regress.
No.
Because then the whole damn thing derails.
If Sam Ehlinger regresses,
and Sam Ehlinger is, and they won't admit it, but I mean the numbers say what the numbers say. He had 9 touchdowns. He had 15 touchdowns, 1 interception in the first 4 games. He's got 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions in the last 4 games. It looks like regression to me.
You know what that
completion
tells?
percentage goes from 72% in the first 4 games to what 59%? Yeah.
Yep.
You know what that tells me, Rod?
Yeah.
One thing that tells me, you got nothing done during that first bye week.
Probably not. Probably feeling yourself
Not
too much.
Not near what you needed to get done.
Yeah. You probably thought you were better than you were at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got some false bravado probably early on. That's all right. I mean, it can be all these things can be corrected. We just don't. If they don't get corrected in this bye week, and then by the time you get all the guys back from injury, then and for offense, now your punter's out and your tight end's out.
Yeah, broke his collar and bone,
I mean,
and
I'm
then
saying,
went back out there and punted
those
again.
2 things are big for Tom Herman because you were already bad at punting. Now you're starting punters out.
Yeah.
And punt return. Well, you weren't bad at punting. You
He's
were
a
bad at punt
tough
return.
Aussie, though. I
Now
gotta
you
give
might be
him
bad
props.
at punting. And your tight end was like that. To me, I always say that was the glue that binded the pro spread together, the pro philosophy and the spread ideology. And now that's going to be, just a guy.
He was the rug that tied the room together.
Yeah. So
Because here's my
he's
thing.
got to figure some things out.
Here's my thing on Cade Brewer. If you're going to be in 11 personnel and he's going to be in the game, I would say they're 11 personnel. What, Rod? 90% of the time,
Yeah.
probably.
Easily.
Then use him.
They don't.
He's going to be out there. Then use
Well,
him.
they just started. They tried.
And
they tried.
I'll give him that. Yeah, they have.
They were
But
trying.
now that he's out and you've got a bye week and you're getting Jordan Whittington back, now you have every reason now to start running more 20 personnel
or even
whatever.
10
I totally
personnel.
forgot about
You can
Whittington.
still run 10 personnel. Honestly, yeah. I mean, man, we can get into when you get Whittington back, and then you have guys like Whittington, Jake Smith, and now Duvernay with what he can do.
Yeah.
Man, the possibilities are endless. Actually, about personnel packages and formations and
I
stuff
just got
you
a
can
little
do
excited
to get
again. It's
matchups.
like-
Yeah. If those guys come back, everybody's healthy. After the bye week, and then we still get no innovation out of this offense, even when it's out of necessity.
Yeah.
Because you lose Kate Brewer.
Right.
I'm going to be very upset.
Can we agree that
I'll be very
they should not be a 70% plus 11 personnel?
They should be running
offense?
11, like maybe 50% of the time. That's when you caught your bread and butter. Then after that, I need 25% 20. Then I need 25% 10 personnel. Matter of fact, take it 20% 20 personnel, 20% 10 personnel, and then give me 10% of just you. I don't know, go 21, go, you know what I mean? Go funky, do something crazy. You know what I mean? But yeah, he's got to be innovative and be the guy that was considered at one point to be one of the brightest offensive minds in college football. Right now, that I don't know if people are saying that.
But I think what this rough stretch has shown, Rod, and look, if you're in the fire Tom Herrmann bandwagon, then I don't know what to tell you at this point, because that's not even a conversation to me that's worth having right now.
Yeah.
But I do think that depending on how this goes, and I think that's the unsettling thing if you're a Texas fan, and what you really should be focused on is, man, these last 4 games, it could go a number of different ways.
Oh my God.
Like, honestly, 5-7's not a ridiculous assumption.
You could win them all. You could lose.
They could lose
you can
out.
win them all, or you can lose them all.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I
agree with that.
They could be.
That's
They could be 7-5. I wouldn't be shocked with 7-5.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked by 6-6.
True.
I wouldn't be completely surprised if they are 9-3. But it's going to take, number one, a lot of changes for Tom Herrmann. And I think depending on how this stretch goes, he's going to have to make some changes in the offseason, Rod. And I'm not saying fire coordinators, but it's doing things like, if you include Tom Herrmann as the play caller, you got 7 coaches allocated to offense and 4 to defense.
Yeah. You gotta
that's
fix that.
that's totally out of whack.
I agree with that. You're saying imbalance
You know,
right now.
so you just got to, and I mean, to me, as much as it is finishing the 2019 season strong, we've all, me especially, we've all been pointing to 2020 as being the year. Like, okay, senior quarterback.
I don't know about that anymore.
I don't either.
I think I would stop saying that because
I don't either.
With guys like Matt Rule in the Big 12 and young quarterbacks, I wouldn't be so sure about that.
This year could have been it.
Yeah, I think this might have been your year to sneak in. I wouldn't be so sure about that.
As down as the league is,
you're gonna lose Colin Johnson and Devin Duvernay. Who's gonna be your best wide receiver?
Exactly. Like that TCU team that beat Texas on Saturday. That's not a good team.
Come on,
waiting team's going to be in the Duvernay.
It's not a good TCU team.
Yeah, I wouldn't keep jumping on that 2020 bandwagon.
The K-State team they're going to play in 2 weeks. That's not a great case. That's not a great K-State. I don't even know if they're good.
But they'll be better next year.
Yeah.
Will Texas?
And you know Baylor will.
Will Texas? Exactly. That's the there you go. So that 2020 stuff, I you be trying to win right now. Yeah.
All right. We'll break it down next week and we'll get into K-State. Matt, thanks for everything, man.
You're more than welcome.
Rod B, appreciate the time and the knowledge.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
For Matt, for Rod, for Travis, the best damn videographer in the podcast game, for everybody at the Austin Radio Network and the Horn 1049, 1019, AM 1260. Streaming on the Horn app and at hornfm.com, where you can get Rod B on the Rodcast each and every weekday 1 to 3.
Shameless plug.
Don't forget, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. Don't forget to like us and leave us a review. And thanks to Matt, you can get our archives and classic interviews on the Longhorn Blitz SoundCloud page.
Yep, just type in Longhorn Blitz.
For the Horn family, for the Horns 24/7 family, I am Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for downloading and listening, and we will catch you again on the next episode.
You've been listening to Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com. Remember, for the latest Longhorn news 24/7, visit horns247.com.